The streets are alive with chaos, cars ablaze, smoke coiling into the sky like a signal of collapse. Protesters rage in the aftermath of sweeping ICE raids and President Trump's sweeping new travel ban. Clashes with the LAPD erupt into open street warfare. Businesses are ransacked. Panic ripples through the city like fire through dry brush. Los Angeles teeters on the edge of disaster. In the face of the unrest, President Trump invokes federal power, deploying the National Guard and Marines, a move California Governor Emiliano Reyes, portrayed by Oscar Isaac, calls unconstitutional, authoritarian, and dangerous. Amid this political firestorm, a congressional hearing is called, broadcast live to the nation. And at the heart of it, a man walks in with quiet authority and an unreadable calm. Jonathan Roumie, portraying the U.S. Attorney General, steps into the chamber like a statesman forged in fire. His voice, when he speaks, will not thunder, it will cut. Anyone responsible for this destruction, he will say, will face the full weight of federal justice. Across the aisle, Emiliano Reyes sits poised, charismatic, composed, yet with a flicker of exhaustion behind his eyes. He carries not just the weight of California, but the burden of defending its soul. The room tightens as Chairwoman Ellen Vargas, a seasoned Democrat, gavels the hearing into session. Today, she says sharply, we confront the crisis in Los Angeles. Troops roam our streets. Protesters fill our hospitals. Is this federal protection or political conquest? Her gaze falls on Roumie, solemn, searching. Mr. Roumie, why does the Justice Department support the deployment of armed forces against a state's will? Roumie leans forward, the stillness before a storm. Madam Chairwoman, he begins, his voice soft but resolute. Los Angeles is not enduring a protest. It's enduring an assault. Molotovs, bricks, police beaten in the streets. This isn't dissent, it's lawlessness. He breathes, his eyes sweep the chamber. The Department of Justice exists not to play politics, but to protect the American people. And we will act, firmly, lawfully, and without hesitation. A smattering of applause rises from the Republican side. The Democrats remain silent, eyes narrowing. Congressman Marcus Holt, a loyalist, breaks the silence. Mr. Roumie is absolutely right. The president had to act. This isn't about partisanship, it's about survival. Chairwoman Vargas's gavel slams down again. She turns toward Governor Reyes. Her tone softens, but her words sharpen. Governor Reyes, you've condemned the deployment as unconstitutional. The floor is yours. Oscar Isaac Reyes leans toward the mic, voice calm but charged. Madam Chairwoman, what's happening in Los Angeles isn't the failure of our people. It's the failure of a federal government that has made enemies of its own citizens. He locks eyes with Roumie. This isn't about law. It's about fear. It's about using federal force to salvage a presidency built on division. A ripple stirs the audience. Some clap softly, others shift uncomfortably. Roumie does not flinch. A slight smile curls at the edge of his lips. Governor Roumie replies coolly, perhaps if California had acted with resolve, the federal government wouldn't need to intervene. Vargas cuts in again, voice tight. Enough. This is not a debate of egos. Congresswoman Rivera, you may proceed. Sofia Rivera, impassioned and unyielding, rises. Mr. Roumie, you speak of law, but the president's travel ban targets nations in Africa and the Middle East, innocent families. You call that justice? Roumie answers immediately, calm as stone. Congresswoman, it's not race, it's reality. Every nation listed has ties to recent extremist violence. We've built in exemptions, legal residents, dual citizens, those serving U.S. interests. This is about safety, not sentiment. And yes, he adds, we have evidence. The audience stirs, some boo. Vargas bangs her gavel. Reyes sits silently, watching, calculating. A storm behind the still eyes. In the gallery, independent journalist Sarah Klein scribbles furiously into her notepad. Roumie's winning, she whispers to her colleague. But Reyes isn't done. This is only Act 1. The lights in the committee room seem to dim under the pressure. Vargas nods to Roumie. Continue. He rises slowly. The screen behind him flares to life. Raw FBI surveillance footage. The sound is off, but the images scream. Masked figures, bricks shattering windshields, a store torn apart, an officer crumpling under a wooden club. Gasps echo. Roumie turns to face the room, his voice steady as ever. This, he says, is not protest. This is destruction, and we have identified one of the instigators. A grainy photo appears on the screen, a masked man frozen mid-throw, a brick headed toward a police cruiser. This individual is being apprehended as we speak, and he's only the beginning. The image on the screen freezes. A masked man mid-throw, brick in hand, violence suspended in time. Jonathan Roumie, the poised and unnervingly composed Attorney General, turns back to the chamber. His voice tightens, colder now, like steel drawn slowly from a sheath. This individual assaulted a federal officer. Through the FBI's investigation, he has been identified. As we speak, a warrant is being executed at his residence in Los Angeles. Gasps ripple through the chamber. Murmurs rise, but Roumie lifts his hand, and the room stills under his quiet command. And we're not done. 9 additional attacks against federal officers are under investigation. Molotov cocktails, looting, assaults. We will pursue them under the Hobbs Act, 20 years in federal prison. He lets the weight of the words settle like ash in the room. Then colder still, to the stone throwers, to the fire starters, to the hidden hands behind this unrest. Know this, if local authorities refuse to protect law enforcement, then the Justice Department will. No one, and I mean no one, is above the law, citizen or official. Across the room, Governor Emiliano Reyes, Oscar Isaac, remains motionless, but his hand grips the edge of his pen like it might break. A storm builds behind his eyes, still contained. Republican Congressman Marcus Holt cannot contain himself. He rises, voice booming with fervor. Mr. Roumie, thank you. California failed. Los Angeles is in flames. President Trump did what he had to do. Applause erupts from the Republican seats, but Chairwoman Vargas slams the gavel. Order! Mr. Holt, wait your turn. In the back row, Sarah Klein, the journalist, scribbles furiously. Roumie isn't just prosecuting rioters, he's prosecuting Reyes's leadership. Sensing the shift, Congresswoman Sofia Rivera stands, attempting to redirect the momentum. Mr. Roumie, your message is clear, but is it legal? Can the president deploy troops without a state's consent? And these videos you've shown, are they cherry-picked to discredit peaceful protesters? Roumie doesn't flinch. His reply is immediate and razor-sharp. Congresswoman, federal law, under the Insurrection Act, permits deployment to safeguard public property and national security. As for the footage, this isn't Hollywood. This is FBI surveillance, and I have dozens more if anyone wishes to see. He turns deliberately towards Senator James Carter, one of the few undecided voices in the room. Carter nods slightly, jotting notes, offering no expression. Chairwoman Vargas leans forward, voice firm. Mr. Roumie, do you have direct evidence that Governor Reyes or California's leadership condoned the violence? The question lands like a bomb. The room freezes. Roumie offers a faint, knowing smile. He lifts a file, thick with ICE reports. Madam Chairwoman, we have documents indicating obstruction of federal raids due to sanctuary city policies in California. I'm not accusing, yet. But when local authorities refuse to cooperate, violence escalates. The dots are connecting. If there's evidence of encouragement or protection of this chaos, we will uncover it. No office shields you from accountability. Boos erupt from sections of the audience. Vargas bangs her gavel again and again. Governor Reyes shifts, finally moving, leaning toward his mic, but doesn't speak. Not yet. Maria Alvarez, a witness seated nearby, wrings her hands tightly, her eyes filled with dread. She knows her story will soon come, but for now, the chamber belongs to Roumie. Republican Congresswoman Patricia Lee rises with excitement. Mr. Roumie, can you clarify for the public? Will these vandals face real justice? Roumie nods once, his voice now cool and certain. We've already opened 3 federal cases involving incendiary devices. More are pending. Looters, assailants, even those who spit on officers. Every act matters, and none will go unanswered. Sarah Klein watches intently. Roumie is building not just a case, but a narrative, one that casts federal justice as order and California's resistance as chaos. He's turning the hearing into a referendum, she whispers, on Reyes, on California, on cooperation itself. Chairwoman Vargas's voice cuts the air, cold and commanding. Thank you, Attorney General. We will now proceed to Governor Reyes. All eyes shift to Oscar Isaac's character. Reyes sits up straight. His gaze flicks to the pile of documents Roumie just left smoldering on the desk. This is his moment, or his undoing. Vargas's voice lowers, more deliberate now. Governor Reyes, you've heard the accusations. Has California failed to control the riots? Has your leadership made this worse? A breath, a heartbeat, a nation waits. Reyes clears his throat. He adjusts his tie, then meets the eyes of everyone in the room. His voice is low, but unmistakably resolute. Madam Chairwoman, I didn't come here to make excuses. I came to speak for the people of California. Los Angeles is in crisis, but not because of its people, because of what was done to them, because of raids that shattered communities, a travel ban that alienated entire nations, troops sent without consent. He locks eyes with Roumie, voice sharpening. This isn't a rescue mission. It's a power play, a political stunt to paint dissent as danger. Applause erupts from the Democratic seats. Roumie remains still, arms crossed, a faint smile, unreadable, resting on his face. Reyes continues, voice rising with passion. This administration's policies, the travel ban, ICE raids, they've turned cities into battlegrounds. In California, we don't build walls, we build bridges. And instead of working with us, the federal government marched in with boots and rifles. Sarah Clean watches Reyes carefully. His words are stirring. But in the political arena, emotion can be a blade or a trap. He's connecting. But is it enough? She writes in her notebook. Vargas raises an eyebrow. Governor Reyes, Mr. Roumie claims your sanctuary city policies enabled this unrest. How do you respond? Reyes doesn't hesitate. His voice, though sharper now, remains controlled. We protect immigrants because they are Californians. They are teachers, workers, parents. The only thing Mr. Roumie seems to protect is a system that punishes the innocent alongside the guilty. ICE raids incite fear. Fear breeds unrest. If the Department of Justice wanted peace, they would have coordinated, not invaded. A hush falls over the chamber. Then, Reyes leans in, a final pointed remark. And if justice is truly blind, then why is the law being weaponized by one man's agenda? These raids, they didn't calm the storm, they lit the match. If the Justice Department truly cared about national security, they would have coordinated with California, not turned Los Angeles into a stage for federal theater. He turns to face Jonathan Roumie, his tone lowering but intensifying. And if the Attorney General wants to talk about responsibility, then let's talk. Why has your office become the strong arm of a president who governs like a dictator, crushing state rights and weaponizing fear? The chamber erupts, half applause, half outrage. The gavel slams down like a gunshot. Governor Reyes, order! Please mind your language, Chairwoman Vargas barks. But the damage is done. Senator James Carter, the neutral juror in this national drama, frowns, scribbling a note without looking up. Sarah Clean, watching from the back, murmurs into her recorder. That was a mistake. Reyes just lost the centrist. Sensing blood in the water, Congressman Holt rises again. Governor Reyes, you call the president a dictator, but where is your leadership? Your state let Los Angeles burn. Do you have any evidence to support your accusations, or just more personal attacks? He throws his hands up as if rallying the chamber. This is why we need strength, not sentiment. Mr. Roumie is showing the country what real action looks like. Seizing the momentum, Roumie rises, quiet but firm, a blade cloaked in silk. Madam Chairwoman, I came here for facts, not political theater. The governor can deflect all he wants, but the truth is this. He lifts a chart, pointing to it with surgical precision. In the past 3 days, 12 officers injured, over 30 businesses looted. ICE reports confirm that over 40% of violent offenders were protected by sanctuary policies. This isn't federal overreach. This is federal rescue. Reyes leans in, trying to cut in, voice strained. You're twisting the truth. California deployed local police. Vargas interrupts sharply. Governor, allow the Attorney General to finish. Roumie steps forward again, now driving the nail. If coordination was your goal, Governor, explain why LAPD reports describe being under-resourced and receiving no direction from your office. We have documentation. The room buzzes, whispers spread. Sarah Clean notes, Roumie is tightening the noose. Reyes needs a lifeline. Congresswoman Rivera stands quickly, trying to reset the tone. Mr. Roumie, you cite evidence, but were these ICE raids conducted properly? There are reports of legal immigrants being targeted. Roumie answers with chilling calm. Every operation followed federal law, and we have full documentation on individuals detained, many with criminal records. If you'd like the list, I'll have it sent to your office. He then pivots directly to Reyes. Instead of criticizing Governor, perhaps California should help us protect citizens, not shield troublemakers. Across the room, Maria Alvarez, a Salvadoran immigrant waiting to testify, lowers her head. Her hands tremble in her lap. For now, the hearing isn't about her. It's war between power and principle. Senator Carter silently jots something down. Disappointment flickers behind his glasses. Cleen mutters, that personal attack on Trump backfired. Reyes needed reason, not fire. Chairwoman Vargas clears her throat and addresses the room, her voice regaining authority. Let's shift. We now move to the international implications of this crisis, specifically tensions with Mexico over the proposed remittance tax. The room dims. A large screen behind the witness stand lights up. A video message from Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum plays. She sits at her desk in a navy suit, her tone calm but forceful. Mexico strongly opposes the United States' proposal to tax remittances. These funds are a lifeline for millions of families. We expect our bilateral friendship to be respected, not tested. Then the dagger. To the Mexican community in the United States, defend your rights, peacefully but firmly. The room breaks into a storm of whispers and gasps. Congressman Holt bolts up, outraged. This is interference. Mexico is calling for protests on U.S. soil? This is an insult. Vargas bangs her gavel harshly. Mr. Holt, sit. We will address this orderly. Jonathan Roumie rises, holding a fresh file. Madam Chairwoman, this isn't a message of peace. It's a veiled incitement. The FBI is investigating financial links between Mexican-based organizations and certain protest groups in Los Angeles. If verified, this will be treated as a national security breach. He turns to Reyes, gaze pointed. Governor Reyes, given your state's welcoming posture, do you know anything about these connections? Caught off guard, Reyes frowns, then stands, his voice laced with simmering anger. Mr. Roumie, your accusation is not just false, it's defamatory. California welcomes immigrants. That doesn't mean we're colluding with foreign actors. We don't traffic in conspiracy. He turns to the committee, voice steadying. The 3.5% remittance tax? It's not a solution, it's punishment. You're taxing the poor to score political points. It won't stop migration, it will only fuel resentment. Congresswoman Rivera backs him up, rising with conviction. Mr. Roumie, why tax struggling families while ignoring drug cartels and human traffickers? Roumie's eyes narrow. His response is swift, surgical. Because remittances aren't just family money. Our data shows a significant flow to criminal networks, including cartels. This tax helps cut off their oxygen. He turns again to Reyes, voice icy. If Governor Reyes truly wants to help workers, he'll stop defending the policies that allow criminal shadows to hide behind innocent faces. Applause from the Republican side. Senator Carter remains silent, but his pen never stops. Sarah Cleen watches through narrowed eyes. Roumie's reshaped the entire hearing. It's no longer about riots. Now it's crime, borders, diplomacy, and Reyes is reacting, not leading. Senator James Carter remains silent, his pen gliding across the page in tight, deliberate strokes. His expression unreadable, his judgment concealed. The room watches him, but he gives them nothing. In the gallery, Sarah Cleen scribbles furiously. Roumie is framing Mexico as the enemy. Reyes hasn't landed a real blow yet. He's cornered, and the clock's running. Suddenly, a new voice shatters the rhythm of confrontation. Congressman Eric Schmidt stands, fists clenched. I've proposed raising the remittance tax to 15%. President Sheinbaum's message only proves one thing. We need tougher action. America isn't the world's wallet, and we won't be threatened. He turns, eyes narrowing on Reyes. Governor, whose side are you on? Ours or the rioters? Oscar Isaac's Emiliano Reyes rises slowly, shoulders tense, voice strained but dignified. Mr. Schmidt, I stand for justice and for human rights. California won't support policies that punish the innocent. We seek cooperation, not conflict, and certainly not turning American cities into battlegrounds. But his words fall with less weight than before. A few lawmakers exchange glances, unimpressed. He's speaking from conviction, but not command. Chairwoman Vargas cuts in, firm. We need solutions, not blame. Mr. Roumie, Governor Reyes, what do you propose to reduce tensions with Mexico? Jonathan Roumie doesn't miss a beat. We've sent a clear message. Mexico must stop interfering. If these provocations continue, there will be economic and diplomatic consequences. The State Department is ready. Reyes shakes his head slowly, the weight of frustration pulling at him, and this is escalation disguised as strength. We need dialogue, not ultimatums. But he offers no plan, just protest. Sarah Cleen leans to her colleague. Reyes is slipping, Roumie's seizing every vacuum. And then, like a single beam of sunlight in a storm, Vargas's voice softens. We've heard the politics, the law, the diplomacy. But now we'll hear from someone living in the middle of this crisis. Ms. Maria Alvarez, please come forward. All eyes shift. A petite woman in a plain floral dress rises from the corner. Her hands tremble slightly, but her spine is straight. Her name is Maria Alvarez, and her walk to the microphone is silent, but louder than any voice before her. She takes a breath. Her voice comes soft, trembling, but clear. My name is Maria Alvarez. I'm from El Salvador. I've lived in Los Angeles for 10 years. I have 3 children. When people are scared, they react. If there had been dialogue instead of raids, maybe things would be different. Light applause breaks out, not from partisanship, but from shared humanity. Senator Carter, who had remained motionless for nearly half an hour, now looks up, his eyes pensive. But Jonathan Roumie, ever composed, rises again. His voice is respectful but resolute. Madam Chairwoman, I thank Ms. Alvarez for her courage, and I assure her that families like hers are not our targets. The Justice Department pursues criminal activity, not lawful lives. That said, we must protect all residents, including her, from those who exploit unrest. Some use these protests to cover violence, and that we must confront. He turns directly to Maria, and for the first time, his voice softens. Ms. Alvarez, I promise to personally review cases like yours. Justice must be firm, but never blind to compassion. Sarah Clean scribbles. Roumie just shifted tone, controlled, empathetic, still in command. But Reyes sees an opening, and he takes it. He rises, voice shaking but passionate. Ms. Alvarez, you are why California fights. We don't want families like yours living in fear. We want an immigration system grounded in dignity, not intimidation. He turns to Roumie, voice low but charged. Attorney General, you speak of justice, but your policies are tearing communities apart. Applause rises again, but Roumie counters immediately, steady and sharp. Governor Reyes, if you care about your communities, explain why LAPD reports say they lacked direction from your office when the riots began. Your silence left them defenseless. Your policies invited chaos. Reyes falters, the words slicing through his momentum. For a beat, he says nothing. Congressman Holt rises again. Ms. Alvarez, I'm sorry for what you endured, but we cannot let criminals run free behind the shield of immigration. He turns to Reyes, voice like thunder. Governor, whose side are you on? The gavel slams. Vargas's voice tight with frustration. Enough, Mr. Holt. We're here to listen, not prosecute each other. She turns to Maria, her tone softening. Ms. Alvarez, if you could say one thing to all of us here today, what would it be? Maria hesitates, then voice raw but full of truth. I just want people to talk, not fight, not threaten. My children need a safe place to grow up. And just like that, the room goes silent. Even Roumie nods slightly, as if conceding the purity of her words. Sarah Clean closes her notebook, whispering to her colleague. She reminded them all, this isn't about power, it's about people. But even as hearts shift, the battle between Roumie and Reyes lingers, unresolved. Senator Carter looks moved, but still undecided. Chairwoman Vargas clears her throat and closes the segment. Thank you, Ms. Alvarez, for your courage. We'll move forward now with further questioning. Maria returns to her seat, her shoulders trembling, not in fear, but in release. The chamber is quieter now, but the storm between Roumie and Reyes is far from over. Maria Alvarez returns to her seat, her eyes still anxious, but a flicker of relief softens her face. She has spoken, she has been heard. But the battle continues, and the silence that follows is anything but calm. In the chamber, both Jonathan Roumie and Emiliano Reyes sit poised, quiet for the moment, but visibly bracing for the next exchange. Sarah Clean, scribbling in the gallery, leans toward her colleague. Alvarez may have touched hearts, but Roumie still owns the room. Reyes needs a turning point, or he's done. Chairwoman Ellen Vargas sits straighter in her seat, her expression weary but resolute. We've heard the human cost, she says. Now we return to the matter of leadership. Attorney General Roumie, Governor Reyes, what are your proposed next steps in addressing the crisis in Los Angeles? The pause that follows is deliberate, charged. Jonathan Roumie rises, holding a fresh folder of documents. The light from the chamber's chandeliers gleams off his pen like a blade. Madam Chairwoman, he begins, his tone steady and persuasive. We are not merely reacting to this crisis. We are preventing the next one. He lifts a chart full of tangled lines and shaded connections. FBI intelligence has revealed financial channels, nonprofits, advocacy groups, even foreign-linked networks, funneling money to instigators of violence in Los Angeles. If verified, these aren't protests. Their operations, coordinated, funded, dangerous. The room murmurs uneasily. Congressman Holt slams his hand on the desk. This proves it. Los Angeles isn't just burning, it's under attack. What's your plan, Mr. Roumie? Roumie's voice never rises. It doesn't need to. We will follow every dollar, from the streets of LA to foreign capital. If there are actors fueling unrest, they will be exposed, and they will be prosecuted. Sarah Clean, pen dancing across the page, mutters, he just reframed the riots as national security. Reyes is now on the defensive. Again. Congresswoman Rivera stands, skeptical and firm. Mr. Roumie, you're making serious accusations. Can you name these groups? Or is this a smokescreen to distract from federal overreach? Roumie offers a faint smile. Congresswoman, the investigation is ongoing. To release details prematurely would compromise federal agents in the field. But I can tell you this, we've confirmed thousands of dollars were funneled to protest groups just days before the riots. That's not a coincidence. Then he turns, eyes locked on Reyes. Governor, these groups operate openly in your state. Do you know anything about them? Oscar Isaacs Reyes bolts up, face flushing with fury. Mr. Roumie, that's a cheap smear, and you know it. California works with law enforcement. We don't harbor criminals. You're turning a real crisis into a conspiracy theory to cover your own failures. He steps forward, voice rising. If we're talking about cover-ups, explain this. Why did you receive $25,000 from the Trump Foundation in 2013, right before dropping the Trump University case? The room explodes. Gasps, jeers, applause. Chairwoman Vargas slams the gavel repeatedly. Governor Reyes, stay on topic. You're out of line. But the damage is done, not to Roumie, but to Reyes. Senator Carter, the one everyone's watching, frowns, shaking his head. Sarah Clean murmuring, he lost him. That personal attack that reeked of desperation. Roumie, unfazed, responds with the calm of a surgeon. Governor Reyes, I was cleared of wrongdoing by Florida's Ethics Commission. This chamber isn't here to relitigate the past. We're here to address the crisis now, and California has not done enough to end it. He lifts another report. The LAPD was left to fend for itself for 48 hours during the worst of the violence. No support, no direction. These are facts, not fiction. Congresswoman Patricia Lee stands, energized. Mr. Roumie, how will you ensure that the rioters are brought to justice? Roumie responds immediately, gaze locked forward. 3 prosecutions involving Molotov attacks are underway. Dozens more will follow. Looters, arsonists, assailants of officers. No one will be spared from justice. And federal enforcement will continue with or without California's cooperation. Reyes rises again, trying to recover lost ground. California hasn't refused anything. We deployed hundreds of officers, but the federal government ignored coordination. They wanted control, not collaboration. He looks to the room, voice weary but hopeful. We call for dialogue, for immigration reform, for peace, not force. But it lands with a thud. Even some Democrats lower their eyes. Chairwoman Vargas interjects, her tone like steel. We've heard both positions. Now we need solutions. Sensing the moment, Roumie delivers the final blow. The Justice Department will continue its investigations, its prosecutions, and its protection of the American people. We do not seek conflict, but we will never surrender to chaos. He sits, his eyes gleam, not with arrogance, but finality. Sarah Clean scribbles one last note. Roumie cast himself as protector. Reyes, as a man pleading for control he never had. Across the chamber, Maria Alvarez sits quietly. Her eyes search the faces before her, but she knows no one up there will bring safety soon. She's just a mother caught in the storm. Senator Carter jots one final note. His gaze lifts, not at Reyes, but at Roumie. Chairwoman Vargas stands, gavel in hand, the moment thick with gravity. This hearing has brought forward pain, facts, and failures. I thank Attorney General Roumie, Governor Reyes, and all witnesses for their testimony. This chamber will review the evidence and issue formal recommendations. She pauses, looks across the hushed chamber. This hearing is adjourned. The gavel slams, and the air cracks like thunder. Jonathan Roumie rises and exits the chamber with quiet poise. He shakes hands with Congressman Holt, who whispers, "You just secured your legacy. The president will be proud." Emiliano Reyes follows moments later, a faint smile frozen to his face, but his jaw clenched. He leaves not in defeat, but in doubt. He knows it. So does Clean. He's a man who wanted to lead, she whispers. But today, he followed. The lights dim, Capitol Hill sinks into dusk, and America waits, uncertain if justice will lead to unity or just more fire. The grand chamber empties slowly, but the tension lingers in the air like smoke after fire. Jonathan Roumie lingers briefly near the exit, shaking hands with Congressman Marcus Holt. The congressman leans in and whispers, "Well done. The president will be proud." Roumie says nothing, but his subtle nod and steel-set eyes say everything. He came to dominate, and he did. Across the chamber, Governor Emiliano Reyes, Oscar Isaac, walks out with a controlled, polite smile, but his face is taut. Behind the mask of grace, his thoughts churn. His missteps, the outburst at Roumie, the swipe at Trump, cost him dearly, especially with men like Senator James Carter, the quiet kingmakers of Washington. In the back, Sarah Kline, the independent journalist, zips up her notebook with a soft sigh. He just watched his own image crack, she mutters to her colleague. Reyes wants to run for president, but today set him back. She watches as Maria Alvarez quietly exits, clutching her purse, eyes distant. Her story touched hearts. But Kline knows, in Washington, stories don't always shape policy. Still, she writes her final line. The Los Angeles crisis isn't just about law, politics, or power. It's about people like Maria Alvarez, caught in the crossfire. As lawmakers disperse into darkened hallways, Kline spots Senator Carter, the neutral voice who said little, but saw everything. She edges near as he tucks away his notepad. He murmurs, almost to himself, "We need solutions, not bickering." But today, Roumie won. And with that, he walks into the shadows, leaving the judgment stamped on the record. Final reflection, narration voiceover. The fallout from the hearing spreads like ripples in stormwater. Roumie has solidified the Justice Department's authority. His talk of FBI investigations and foreign money trails sparks new headlines by morning. He has fortified the Trump administration's stance, turning a riot into a national security crisis and himself into its messenger. Reyes, though eloquent at moments, leaves not as a leader, but a man overwhelmed by a fight that demanded more than emotion. His attacks on Roumie and Trump, seen as personal, eroded trust with the very centrists he needed. And far away from the glare of Capitol Hill, Los Angeles remains volatile, still bracing, still broken, still waiting. The FBI reports may spark new investigations. Tensions with Mexico may deepen, especially if President Claudia Sheinbaum, under pressure at home, retaliates by limiting border cooperation. In the quiet that follows, Sarah Kline stands alone at the window, Capitol Hill bathed in gold from the setting sun. The lights of Washington flicker to life one by one as she wonders aloud, can this country weather the storm? Or did today carve the fault lines deeper? Each character, Roumie, Reyes, and Alvarez, leaves carrying a different truth. And America, divided and uncertain, watches, waiting for what comes next. Final moral takeaway. The hearing between Jonathan Roumie's hardline, data-driven prosecution of chaos and Oscar Isaac's emotionally charged defense of immigrant dignity revealed a bitter truth about American politics. In a polarized arena, facts can cut through, but without empathy, they can deepen wounds. Reyes reminded us of the humanity in the storm, but Roumie reminded us who holds the gavel when the storm turns violent. The real lesson? Avoid personal attacks. Lead with empathy, but don't abandon facts. And above all, listen to voices like Maria Alvarez, who remind us what's truly at stake. Subscribe to the channel for more stories that reveal the human cost of policy, the drama behind political power, and the battles that define America's future. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next episode.